all that long ago, George, this moment seemed unimaginable, really, when we're talking about Kamala Harris becoming vice president. And in 1976, Carol Simpson, former ABC News anchor, she interviewed Barbara Jordan, Congresswoman, an ambitious black female politician in her own right. We'll come back to,
go ahead.
Continue? Okay. And she asked Barbara Jordan at that time, do you think that this country is ready for a black female vice president? At the time, Jordan quickly said no. She didn't think that this country was ready, but she said, I'm going to help them to get ready. And now, ready or not, here she comes. Kamala, of course, means lotus flower, which is a symbol of significance in Indian culture. And the lotus grows underwater. It's a flower, though, that rises above the surface, and yet the roots remain deeply embedded in the river bottom.
And now we see George W. and Laura Bush approaching as well. President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush will all accompany Joe Biden to Arlington Cemetery this afternoon, a show of unity. President Carter wanted to be there, sends his regrets. Of course, he's 96 years old. He and Rosalind could not make it to Washington today. Byron Pitts, that's going to be an important moment to see those three presidents accompany the new president to Arlington Cemetery, saying something important about where our country is right now, the unity that remains beneath the surface of this great division we also see.
George, that's right. I mean, unity is a big part of the theme today, and seeing those images will be important. And looking at the former presidents, it reminds me that being president is about the future, right? We see President Obama there as he comes.
Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. Probably could not have imagined this moment either. But he worked hard to make it happen. Both he and the First Lady in the final days and weeks of the campaign, going across the country to make sure Joe Biden would get elected. Here comes President Bush. Chris Christie, as we see him come down, I'm smiling to myself as I remember that his reaction to President Trump's inaugural 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was vintage President Bush 43, and you know, the interesting thing is there's our last Republican president who showed how he handled himself in his post-presidency life. Went back to Dallas, lives at the end of a cul-de-sac in a very normal-looking house, and went to painting and to supporting his presidential center. And I think one of the real challenges now for Donald Trump, given his vast difference in personality to George W. Bush, is what does he do with himself now? And I think it's going to be a challenge for him to decide, once again, whether he has to make himself the center of everything or whether he wants to become part of that group that is
on that
on the
point,
stage.
George W. Bush barely seen it all in public over the last years, except for his cause, very specific causes.
But when that Saturday after the election, when all the races were called, it was President George W. Bush who put out a statement congratulating President-elect Biden and calling President-elect Biden to congratulate him. What he understands is the role of a statesman.
And he put out that statement after the siege of the Capitol as well. President Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama. Cecilia Vega, Barack Obama chose Joe Biden as his vice president. He trusted Joe Biden as his vice president. He writes about being irritated at times by Joe Biden as vice president, but in the end, they became brothers.
They are indeed brothers to this day, George. You know, and David mentioned earlier that Joe Biden
was fear and trepidation. I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay in bed staring at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, can I keep my health care? Can I pay my mortgage? thinking about their families, about what comes next. I promise you, I get it. But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue